The hanging the planet. Look at how planet is, how big the planet is. So the one that will hang this kind of a thing on air, how big do you think the palm will be? How big do you think, how long do you think the hands will be? Look at it yourself. They told you that, for instance, that God, that the heaven is his throne, and then that the earth is his footstool. But that is not true. The God has no beginning. That's one of the attributes of this God. He has no beginning. But the earth has a beginning. There was a time that the earth was created and then brought into tangible reality. Then what about that when it was yet to happen? Where was the God staying? Where was the foot of that, as is God's footstool? Where was this God putting his foot on? They say that heaven is his throne. It gives that mindset like somebody going to heaven. We see God there, sitting on a throne. But that's not true. God Almighty, the God of creation, does not, he is above that kind of livelihood, that kind of lifestyle, to stay inside the planet and have his livelihood. He is above that kind of lifestyle. God does not, the Most High does not need a planet or roof, does not need like a firmament to go over his head. Prophet has said all of these things. He is the Most High. Just like you people too, in singing. You say words like, lift him up higher. My God is good, I will lift him up higher. Anywhere I go, I will lift him up higher. Prophet said that that's singing amiss. You cannot lift God up higher. You can't lift him. You can't lift him. Don't talk about lifting him up higher. And look at it yourself. Look at it with your brain. How can you lift the Most High up? If you can lift God up higher, then who is promoting who? Who is then promoting who? Just like the what is common with many sects, many religious gatherings and so on. Even the hidden, those that are idol worshippers as well, is this, that the whichever God that they are addressing or that they have to talk to and so on has what he eats. And that thing that God eats is dense, especially when they are when you know what I mean, like when they are not that aged. When they are still, or when you are a kid, a child growing, who is it not your biological father and mother that are feeding you? Why will you be the one feeding God? Two, if the God eats those things that they have to serve him, the things I'm talking about are things that are terrestrial. I know this is not very good for some people, like when I use the word terrestrial. What I mean is things that are perishable, things that are destructible, things that houseflies can perch on, things that you find here, you find in this very planet. That's what the God that's supposed to be supernatural, that's supposed to be ageless, that's supposed to be that he cannot, he has no beginning and he has no end. That's what he's feeding on. That's what you give him food that he eats. So I came to explain a whole lot to you, because there are also some things written in the Bible that truly happened that also did not help matters, because it was something that if it should happen at all, it has to be explained to the people. An example of that is the altar that they wrote that Elijah set, very Elijah of Tishbe, the one that was written in the Bible. Okay, then that he set in the altar, picked 12 stones, dug a trench, put wood in the middle, get an animal, slaughter, cut the long story short, prayed. And the prayer was just, oh God, hear me, oh God, at this time. So that these people will know that there is the God, that is the God, the one and only true God that Israel is worshiping, that everybody's supposed to worship, and so on. And then the answer, the God answering him, that what happened was that fire, naked flame came, as was written. The naked flame came and also went, just came like and went again. And by the time it has gone, all of those, like the animal that he slaughtered and put on the middle, disappeared. The blood that when you kill an animal, spills, was leaked. The water, liquid water that was poured around like what was dug around like a gutter, So the water that was poured around was leaked, and so on. So it was like a radical display, the evidence that God eats those kind of things, so that this person called upon his God, and to show that his God is alive, he came and ate his sacrifice. So in other words, sacrifice was also being defined there as that kind of a thing, being what is called sacrifice, to get an animal and kill the animal in a particular prescribed pattern. Like he dug a trench, put stone, something like that, and then he came and ate the thing. Oh my goodness. Now, did this happen? Yes, it happened. Even though they didn't write it in 100% accuracy. I mean, the aspect of writing something and making not a mistake at all. That's what I mean. But in terms of if he took an animal, yes, he did. He slaughtered, yes, he did. Why? That is what I mean. That needs an explanation. What he dug. Did he dig it? Yes. Did he pour water around? Yes. All of these things has what that means. Like that trench, that very round trench, and the water that went round is pointing to the fact that the earth is an island. This earth, this very earth now, is surrounded by water, as an example. So that the earth is and then also, in fact, not only that the earth is an island, but that the earth is actually, the matrix of this kind of reality is water. WATER. Water is the matrix of this. Not what I mean by not just this earth, because there are the likes of Jupiter, Venus, Pluto, all of that. Even though Genesis chapter, the account of creation in Genesis chapters did not capture that, but I'm telling you that, like, if you want to just divide the creation into two, you just talk about the natural and the supernatural. Simple. So words like, or names like angels, cherubim, seraphim, you see, who are they? Who actually is an angel? How will you explain an angel? What's the anatomy of an angel? What about the cherub? What about the seraph? Where are they? How many are they? Do they come here? If any comes, how does it happen? All of these things, I have the details. All of these things are the things I have come to explain to you. There is the mindset that you must have if you should expressly go to a heaven's world. That was what happened to Elijah of Tishbe. He expressly went to a heaven's world. There are words that when you understand the things I'm explaining, you will see also that they need to be made better. They need to be corrected. Words like, it is appointed unto man once to die, and after that, judgment. Elijah did not taste death at all. He was not the first person. There was also Enoch, biological son to Jared. He was also taken that same way. That same way. Not just that God took him. There is the path. There is the procedure. There is the path that the physical body that is mortal has to follow. Because that mortal body cannot be taken to that heaven's world that way. The mortal body is mortal, cannot be brought into a supernatural. That's where where death is not, where aging is not, and so on. So there is a physical body that is also required for that one. So not just like not understanding this made the people also to now believe that when the body dies, which they still put like when the person dies, then life continues. So that's when the person then can go to that heaven or hell. And what can merit one any of these is based on righteousness living while you have mortal body. While you have mortal body in this planet, you must keep God's commandments in the aspect of those things, the thou shalt not, thou shalt, and so on. And a whole lot went south, my dear, by this, because it is so difficult for that body to practice the kind of life that will smoothly do those certain things, especially certain ones, because there are inclinations or instincts that are animalistic, which are also the reasons that Charles Darwin, who prophet said is actually an angel, impure hominid angel turned human, and that there was a certain Lucifer who is laying claims on this earth. He's a third cherub. That is actually a cherub. Prophet has said a whole lot. Said that the serpent of Genesis 3, that very serpent, is not a snake. People thought it's just a reptile. That's why they don't bother to ask if the man and the woman was asked to get they wrote it like it was a walkout, to walk out of the garden. And God has reasons to protect the garden. So what about the snake? What about the serpent? They feel no, because he's already crawling. So he might have been then crawling in the same garden. So it is so painful, to see this height of gross darkness that wrap the people. And the people I mean here are pure hominids. pure hominids. I mean, it is something that, my type and or my height. Like I have been. I have the knowledge of the truth. I have the knowledge of the truth. I'm not exercising faith. I'm being very true. I'm being very honest with you. You see. So what I'm explaining, as in how I feel when I look at these things, is at times I look for words to explain it. People are just busy looking for money. They didn't know that there is, in as much as money is important, in as much as I'm not against it, so you don't feel what do you mean? Should we stay at home? I'm not say I have never supported, idleness, or that kind of mentality that has to do with somebody staying at home and expecting a God to be so powerful that he can just do something and money will come. And I even say that what they call divine favor, that is not existing. That divine favor is suggesting that God can be partial. That God can just like somebody or prefer someone, not exactly because because that person is better. Exactly. In terms of maybe behaviors or character. Just like what they wrote concerning Esau and Jacob. You can see. They wrote that God said like Esau or Jacob I love, Esau I hated. And it was not explained. Nothing was explained there. I brought the explanation. I said because Esau is a tear. There are tear hominids and there are pure hominids. They also wrote in a certain place that God said, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy on. In other words, I can choose not to have mercy on somebody. Like I owe nobody any explanation. That is not true. A lot of things pointed fingers at not just at God, but at the character of the God. A lot of things try to define God the wrong way. Now that is terrible. That is terrible for me. Yet in the same Bible, you see things like they wrote like that God is the light in whom is no darkness at all. God is the light in whom is no darkness. The prophet said light. No, that God is not light. God is a type of. They are trying to explain something. That's what I mean. Light is a thing. God is not a thing. Light is a thing. A thing. Thing. A thing. God is not a thing. You see, but God has the effulgence, the glory that come out also in the form of lighted cast glow. That's like his complexion is what I'm talking about now. Glow that is brighter than anything you can think of in terms of brightness. Illumination of the God. So, but then my point is just like they wrote that he at the time said, "Let there be light," or "Light be." You see, so light is a thing. Okay. So, but what I'm trying to say here is that the phrase, please, what they wrote as that God is the light in whom is no darkness at all. Prophet said that the current rendering is that God is like, please. God is like that immaculate light. That immaculate light in whom is no darkness at all. In other words, he's trying to explain to you how that the immaculacy of this God is unstainable, and that also like light cannot bring out darkness. So if God of creation has his faculty where this creativity takes place, if he has what's called his creative faculty, he cannot then conceptualize anything evil. He cannot. I didn't say he must not. He will not. I say he can't. He's a cannot. He cannot conceptualize anything evil. If this aspect alone, if you understand this aspect alone, it will, in fact, you'll be able to understand why that the tree they call the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They didn't even put it knowledge of good and bad. Something can be bad, and that thing that is bad might still be different from another that is evil. You can tell your child, why will you oh, how do I put it? Like let's say you yawned, if you know what is yawn, to yawn, and then you did it in a certain way that is not right. Then you are telling the child, it is bad to do it that way. If you feel like you want to yawn, this is how you do it. In case you are in the midst of people, you see, you have used the word bad. It's bad to do that. You are passing where your seniors are, and you didn't greet anybody. It is bad to do so. You see, you have used bad. But you didn't use evil. So evil has its definition. So there is nothing evil, evil, that's supposed to be inside that garden that was referred to as the Garden of Eden. I don't have to talk about how that they made the very male and female persons that we are referred to as, in fact, the very male that before God made him, like they wrote it, that God said, let us make man in our own image. In other words, there is the image of this God that's supposed to at least be at stake. At least. So that the person is the image bearer or bearer of somebody's image, like you can say in this earth. Please, 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 why are you doing this to me? Why are you trying to tarnish my image? How can the image of God be something that will be not wearing anything, walking about, dangling, whatever? You know that when you talk about male here, the male physical anatomy, physical body anatomy of male has that thing that they still refer to as what should be classified as private parts that needs to be covered. I don't talk about that of the lady, Eve. You see, her grace. So my point is that they didn't tell that well, my dear. In fact, if you should hear the actual story, what happened as it is, and that Eden, E-D-E-N, not just Garden of Eden, the very Eden, what that place is, and so on, you will be so amazed. You'll be so amazed. You know, the truth has always like suffered here. The truth has always suffered in this kind of a planet. You can see how that they crucified the truthful one. You can see. Genesis 3 actually like starred somebody. S-T-A-R-R-E-D. Starred a serpent as the truthful one. Made the serpent to be like a master. And what came from the very serpent? That deception, pointing to someone that has a mentality that is superior to the other. Someone that has a mentality that is superior, if you understand what I mean. To now say, no. If even said God lied. Because when they wrote that the woman said, yes, he said, like that God said if we should eat from this tree or touch it, we will die. Or we will begin to die. Then the very serpent said clearly, thou shalt not surely die. That means the way she said it, she said, thou shalt surely die. He said, no, thou shalt not surely die. And the next is to accuse the God. He said, God knows that if you should, you will be like him. Knowing good and evil. And that your eyes will open. And you will know good and evil. Oh my goodness. They later still wrote that God himself confessed. Like God was talking to himself. And then maybe someone overheard him talking to himself to write it. That God said, the man is become like one of us. Then see what followed. Knowing good and evil. Therefore, let us chase him away. My dear, I am telling you the truth. That thing needs to be removed from that place. That is terrible. That is terrible. That is terrible. What actually happened was not what they wrote. And the amazing thing is that the more you leave it, the more you are disgracing yourself. You as being in the mankind race. You are biting your own self if you do not know. And then the God himself cannot be victimized. The God himself cannot become a victim of a circumstance. Anything you try doing to this God backfires on you. It's automatic. Prophet has said it before. And so on. So please, because I really don't want to, I want to manage the time very well. I have some verses that is in Leviticus 20 that I need to give you. And there are many of them. I want to finish that very Leviticus chapter 20 today. So that you will know that if you say Leviticus 20, from verse 1 to verse 27, that you have it. And can look at it on your own. You look at what was written, that's what was written in the Bible that you have. And then you look at the one I'm saying, that this is what God said. That one that they wrote was what Moses said that God said. Are you getting that now? Moses is like the law. There is the prophet. Like their mates. It means what Moses said. The height of what Moses brought. that other one can also bring. That's why in Genesis I spoke about the account of where they wrote that where they wrote like in the beginning God created God created the heaven and the earth. Prophet said no, that is supposed to be the heavens, that there are different heavens worlds, and there is a particular an exact number of heavenly places. There's an exact number. He has also explained that, and he told also that Revelation chapter 12 will help you in this matter. In fact, to be precise, verse 12, Revelation chapter 12, verse 12, made it clear that there are heavens worlds and people residing in them. Like many people think that heaven is one place, and if you should get to that heaven, you see the God, then probably see his son sitting by his side, and also see angels in the same heaven. Like creating what looks like is a big hall. You just enter and then see people that are wearing white, and they are dancing, and also you all you do is to worship God because He craves for it. Like that's all we do in heaven. All you go to heaven to do is to worship God. Oh, we will just be there and worshiping. That's why people cannot honestly and earnestly, believe you me, pursue the kingdom. What they chase after here, what they made priority here, is their dreams. There is always what they are, that's what they want to become, what they love to become, according to how exposed the person is. Where there are some that are in surviving mode. Surviving mode is like somebody who is trying to struggling to survive. Does not mean that that person may not have his or her dream. It is just that things can be so difficult. So like the economy can be so bad and so on, and then it will look that way. Everyone has what he wants to, that's his dream or her dream. But I tell you, if you should understand what the Bible was supposed to be, the Bible that is in the earth here, was supposed to be inside the Bible, you will understand that truly, like Prophet said, that if God should make an offer, if God Almighty, the most in everything, highest in everything, if He should make an offer, it is beyond reject. The same way people can boldly say that money, especially when you're talking about big one, is not what people will easily reject. When you are offering them money, when you are offering them better life, when you are offering them gold, silver and gold, and so on, because of this, the reason they have words like in their mouth, words like everybody has his price. So they can tell someone, okay, name your price. You see? And yet I'm here telling you that if the God Almighty, the Creator and bringer into tangible reality, the heavens, different heavens, hanging them, and the creatures that are inhabiting these heavens worlds, He gave them their lifestyle, unique lifestyle, and the amenities of the very life, according to their physical bodies, the way their physical bodies are, and so on. All the things you are seeing in the earth today, like human beings in the earth, has to build the house that somebody will go into. That means shelter and so on. There is where the God did all of that. There is where the God of creation did all of that from start to finish. And did it in such a way that there wouldn't be anything like aging, things getting old. There wouldn't be anything like aging. Everything there is not perishable. Everything there is not destructible. Everything there. There's nothing like the earth, the ground where people march. Like you, let's say, touching your finger on the ground and raising it and look, then there's a dust in it. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like the possibility of, how that something can breed another, and that what was bred happened to be something negative, like microscopic stuff that can also give one sickness or the other. There's nothing like that. Nothing like that. So the life in the supernatural are yet to be discovered here. How life is in heaven's worlds. Now, why it surprised me to some extent, as to why it is like zero here, is because I knew that angels, both pure hominids and the impure hominid angels, do come here, disguised. Then aside the pure hominid angels, which I know they don't have to come and start explaining, and start teaching these things, What about the impure hominid kind? The impure humankind are outlaws. They don't keep to, anything that, in fact, if they know that they set it, like, well, let me leave that aside, please. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, these people follow. Prophet said that this thing mentioned in Revelation, in Genesis chapters, please, as in Pison, Gihon, Hiddekel, and Euphrates, that the very Euphrates is actually that these are air roots, but that the Euphrates is the one that leads, connects heavens, that connects the supernatural. That is like, that's where angels coming into the earth here can enter through. It's a two-way lane, Lane, two-way lane. There's the entrance, there's the exit. And that was what was revealed to Jacob, and Jacob called it ladder. Jacob called it a ladder, Ladder, ladder. People even sing songs like ladder, 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 follow the ladder to heaven. And she said that Jesus Christ is the ladder to heaven. Now I'm here now telling you that Jacob was revealed a certain thing that he called ladder. And they wrote also that, not just that is a ladder, that is the ladder that angels entering here follow. And also going out from here follow. That it is a ladder that angels coming, like they were descending and ascending through the very ladder. And he screamed. It was like a trance, but it was written like it was a dream. Like he was trying to catch a nap, a kind of sleep. Then it was revealed to him. You see? And there was a reason that revelation came to him. I understood that perfectly. Because that person was supposed to be the progenitor of a people that, first of all, that whole story will be pointing to the mankind. That's all the pure hominids belonging to the mankind race. As that is the very Israel. Israel is supposed to be the name of the nation of the mankind race. The mankind race, like the word mankind, that's actually what Adam means. Adam. Adam means mankind. But they made it look like what it means is earth man. Earthy. As though man does not need to be this. That's man is different there. Just like the rule that God said, let us make man in our own image. Let us make man. Meanwhile, the word man, that's God. It would have been repeating something. If God said, let us make man, God has already said what he wants to make. Are you getting it? So, because the man is a being. In fact, God himself is a man. God Almighty is a man. So, Adam is a generic name. Let me give you another example. Just like if you're talking about elephant. Elephant is a generic name. Now, if you say when there was no elephant at all in a place, then you now say to somebody or say talk so that it will be documented. Let me make an elephant. Somebody can tell you, I don't know what you mean by elephant, because the elephant is yet to be existing. You see, but rather you can say, okay, let me make that thing that when I finish, the people will now know that I have made what is called elephant. You see, not let me make an elephant. Elephant has to be existing first. Before you tell somebody, I want to design an elephant. So that let us make man in our own image was not coined well. That's my point. And mankind is not the body. That physical body for the very man that God gave birth to. The very spirit that's the spirit being that God, to cut the long story short. I'm telling you, either you accept it or not, that you are a spirit being giving birth to. Spirit being without physical body in the Father's bosom. You were giving birth to without spirit being. Without physical body, please. You were giving birth to spirit being without physical body in the Father's bosom. That is the truth. So you have what is called pre-embryonic existence. That is the reason God was like God told Jeremiah, before you were conceived in your mother's womb, I knew thee. Then another one, those whom he foreknew, F-O-R-E, foreknew he predestined. Predestination, that word pre, P-R-E, is saying that that is what God did first before your biological birth. Else you remove the pre, else you remove it. That has been done before you ever came out into through the womb of your biological mother. There was a predestination. That's why there is such thing as divine destiny. That's why there's such thing as perfect will. There's such thing as that. When I say, may God's perfect will, I'm not just saying what sounds nice. I mean, may God's perfect will happen in your life. I am talking about something I can explain. Nothing's supposed to take God unawares. And it doesn't really mean then that you are programmed like a robot. You see, you still have your what? You have your free moral, you're a free moral agent. You're a free moral. There are robotic creatures, but I don't have to go into that now. But the prophet is saying that they are apart from this kind. I mean, the people, well, let me leave that place. Because of time, I have always observed that in trying to explain one thing or the other, especially when I just start like this, I have always, I will utilize the time much more than I initially planned. Please, not Instagram followership, not Facebook followership. You see, that is what I came to the earth to do. I understood it perfectly well. I'm a missionary. I'm a messenger. God sent me, and I like I told you, anybody that can say this to you, and the person is telling you that happened in the earth. I was once somebody who visit one beer parlor or the other. Then at a time, I was walking, and then I heard a voice. Just like what Sir Paul claimed. This is just like what Sir Paul claimed. The God that I know, my dear, did anything that has to do with giving one church ministry. He did it before the person's birth. You know why? That is where your sanity is at its highest, at its best there. Anything you say yes to there, you were not deceived into it. It's something that you are in a very good position to say yes or no to something. You see? Because God has respect to your choices. Jesus Christ said, this and that I put before you. Choose this so that you see. Choose means your choice. He cared for your choice. God, I mean Jesus promised, the prophet said that Jesus is the God in an incarnate manifestation. That's what the prophet said. That Jesus Christ, Jesus of Nazareth, is the God, capital G, in an incarnate manifestation, who came in the shoes of the Son of God. So he came in the shoes of like as though he is the Son, and that was the reason. So that he will propitiate for, he will bail, he will ransom, he will swap, he will substitute for somebody, mankind, Adam, his eminence, and his female model. That paid a certain price for procreation to become possible. It's called price for procreation. Why the one Jesus came to pay is called, they call it anyway, bail price. But it is when you understand it from like the entire logos of the God of creation, then you understand that bail, the reason, like the bail is okay, but it's not the best in terms of explaining. Because if you want to go and bail somebody from a police station, you will see that you give the money that they ask for, sign everything that they ask for, right? Then you come out with the person. So when it means that the thing was not demanding for you to stay and the person go. But in the case of the very Lord Adam, in his case, in the case of mankind, the thing is demanding for the very person that is the bailer to stay. While the person he came to bail will go. So the person coming out as well is because the person overpowered everything that defines hell. Cynistic wise or cynistic forces of hell, minions of hell, all completely overcome. And it was not like there was a fight, exchanges of punches. I've always explained these things. God wants you to know him. I do explain these things not to show you how much I know, but to make you understand a whole lot that can also help you, enable you to worship God in spirit and in truth. God does not crave for anything. He will never crave for your indulgence. He will never crave for your worship. God has it all. Amongst the attributes you give to this God is self-sufficient, self-dependent, all-sufficient. Somebody that is all-sufficient can never lack anything. There's nothing that God lacks. Everything he needs, he has it. And that's just so, wisdom will also tell you that's why he could be. That is also why he could be the God of creation. It means he creates. Then another is to bring that thing he has created into tangible reality. Where would he have gotten that thing when there was nothing existing, for instance? When it was only him that was existing, for instance. Where will he now go to look for materials to begin to bring the thing into tangible reality? If that thing will not come from him. You can see. So what I'm trying to explain is something that if you listen well, you can see it. You can see it. And also for you to appreciate it. Because if this is easy, there wouldn't be all those things you see that are out there. Different religious groups, different religious gatherings, sects, different different spiritual houses. How can a people say they are spiritual and they don't know this? One occult group or the other. But I can tell you that there is not even the when you say chief priest, that's what I mean now. Or high priest, okay? High priest of any occultic group. There's no high priest of any occultic group that can come and stand and let's lawyer this. As in, like, let's talk about spiritual realities. That can withstand this. Or withstand what I have to say. I am telling you the truth. I said there are angels that come to this very earth, disguised, and told you how they do, where they come from, where they even land. I explained these things. And also told how that cherubim and seraphim cannot. Cherubim and seraphim cannot, that they are different. They are not angels. Angels are a race of their own. Cherubim and seraphim are a race also of their own. Mankind also a race of their own. And the difference is that these cherubim, seraphim, and angels are all creatures. It means that they were conceptualized in the creative faculty of the God of creation. It was through creativity that God gave them anatomy. God gave them, God drew how he will like them to be, and so on, and then bring them to be reality. Unlike the case of mankind. That mankind there's nothing like that. It's just like that bet, you know, that when a woman is pregnant and put to bed, there's nothing like the man conceptualizing how his child will be. There's nothing like the woman conceptualizing how the child will be. You are talking about biological laws here now. You see? You are talking about, I mean, it is like when they say like begets like. So the God Almighty has the son he gave birth to. Note, a son, that's another. That is another. An only begotten son. There's a reason for that only. But I tell you, the very Genesis chapters has a place where it got to. Then they started using words like sons of God. Sons of God saw the daughters of men. That is grossly wrong. That is wrong. Then the very place where they mentioned somebody, and then what followed was the Son of God. It was as though it was just said like it should be assumed. It doesn't, because there's nobody that you would have said that gave birth to that person. Then Jesus Christ's experiments that came, also it was now looking like that was the first time he came to this earth. Meanwhile, there was this person that came to Abraham. Not once. And they still wrote they still showed that person was not an angel. In fact, before the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, they wrote that there were three men that actually came that Abraham saw. Then two, went ahead to do went to do, to go to Sodom. Sodom, because Lot and his family were staying there. And then the other one, what I didn't quite like there was it was looking like that too. Let's say walking hand side by side by the person that's supposed to be the God. Like it was fine, like they can just tell the God, or the God tell them, hope you're coming, you're fine, right? Like he's, like God can just be walking at you by the side. You're just walking, and meanwhile the God of mercy, prophet, among what he said was that if God should appear physically anywhere, he puts up the highest spectacle, the greatest spectacle. Where this is best when you're talking about him appearing physically in a place the way he is. That is in his glory. Notwithstanding, it does not mean if he came disguised, then he will now not stand out. Not at all. They didn't explain to you even what the phrase immaculate conception is. They didn't explain it. That's why they feel that Jesus Christ, his memories, what they wrote in Isaiah 53, I think, also fits his character. A man of sorrows, a man acquainted with grief. And there's nothing beautiful we should see when he comes. Nothing beautiful to expect. Oh, God. Meanwhile, the word immaculate conception supposed to have a scientific definition. A definition of what that means. Immaculate conception. Not just English. Immaculate conception. No. It means nobody got Virgin Mary pregnant. Like no human being. Okay, that's all. You see, when you talk birth, you talk genetics. When you talk birth, birth, you talk genetics. And so let me peg it here. So, like I said, I want to give you the correct rendition of the very Leviticus chapter 20. It has 27 verses, if I'm correct. I think I've given you 12, and then touch one again, I think last Sunday. That is like 13. So I want to give you the rest of the verses so that you will know the entire verses, the entire, the correct rendition of the very entire verse, or the entire verses. And also, my topic today is one of the reasons I decided to give it to you. That is to give you all of these verses. In Igbo language, it is called Ikpu Alo. Ikpu Alo in Igbo language. And I want to title it that way. Ikpu Alo, but I will explain it in English. But you write Ikpu Alo, I-K-P-U. I-K-P-U. And then you now write A-L-U. Ikpu Alo. Ikpu Alo. Ikpu Alo. A-I-I-I-K-P-U. Then you write A-L-U. Ikpu Alo. Then you put dot, dot, dot. Then you write, what is it? Or what is this? However you like to, you want to put it. And then put question mark. Then under it you write, a cleansing that if it is not done, a cleansing that if it is not done, comma, a certain desecrator act or sacrilege committed will begin to reoccur over and over again. A cleansing that if it is not done, comma, a certain desecrator act or sacrilege committed will begin to reoccur over and over again. A cleansing that if it is not done, a certain desecrator act or sacrilege committed will begin to reoccur over and over again. Now this is what made many people use words like rituals as something that is supposed to be welcome in the Bible. So they feel that, you see, you can say, I use the word cleansing, a cleansing. They would have used the word ritual. A ritual that if it is not done. You see, I'm talking about a cleansing because cleansing, you can understand what cleansing is. Ritual, will you understand it? A child can ask for ritual. What does that mean, sir? Or what does that mean, ma? You see? And I told you that ritual has to do with something that involves bloodletting, blood spill. Ritual must have, they can hold kola nut in their hands and tell you, no, that's a ritual. It is not true. If you talk about ritual, it's supposed to involve what? Bloodletting, blood spilling. Then it's a ritual. And this is very important to you to understand why you should not think that the solution to the fall as made available by the God of creation was not supposed to be what they told you. That is what salvation is. That it has to do with the blood of somebody that must be spilled. And then that blood becomes what will do the cleansing. So I'm trying to make you understand the reason that kind of story also sowed, thrived. That means that like went down well with many in this kind of a planet. There is a cleansing that if it is not done, a certain desecrator act or sacrilege committed will begin to reoccur over time, over and over again. This kind of thing I'm talking about is not what spiritual soap, bathing in the river, repentance, goat slaughtered, and the blood spill on the neck of the offender in a river, and so on, can solve. This is not what, so you don't misunderstand what I'm saying, please. Or this. To avert the consequences of an abomination, or wipe away or cleanse the desecration casted upon a land by an abominable act of a height, has nothing to do So you understand? It has nothing to do with these things that involves killing of goat, killing of this and that, or what they also call Azazel, where somebody, the offender, they will have to do one thing like that or the other, after which there will be a goat also that is there, that it was supposed to like swap for the person, like that goat. Everything that the consequence of the person's act, that all of that would leave the person, be moved from the person onto the goat. And then the goat will wear the person's cloth and then be sent away. And that person must not go in the direction that the goat went. That is not it, my dear. There are things, that is what is called doctrines. There are doctrines that are sound doctrines. That is, it means what God Almighty himself was the one who brought it through his son and through the prophets. And there is another that is not. But it is rather called witch doctrines. W-I-T-C-H. Witch doctrines. People know about witch doctors. You see, witch doctors has doctrines that they are bringing out. Those doctrines you can also refer to as witch doctrines. W-I-T-C-H. Then doctrines. What is a doctrine? You're supposed to know what that is. And that is different from words like ordinances. What is an ordinance? Words like statutes. What is a statute? These are things you're supposed to understand to be able to handle certain things. For instance, somebody who has committed, let me give an example of what I'm talking about. Like somebody, let's say somebody mistakenly, the person in beating his own sister, or in beating his own brother, or in beating his mom, or in beating his child. I'm giving an example. The person now kick the child, boom. Then just that kicking hit the person on the wrong place. Then the person fell. And then they carry the person before you know the person has gone, the person dies, like they put it. When it comes to the law, the person will face what's called manslaughter. Something like that. Even though it was not premeditated, it was seen as not premeditated, even though it was seen as not exactly like murder, the kind that, please let me not explain, I'm not a lawyer. My point is this, even though it was seen as something that happened mistakenly, does not mean the person has not committed a crime. That's what I mean. But then the point is this, that apart from how the government will go about that thing, apart from that, I mean, if the person should be tried, taken to where he will await trial, got to the point where the person also faces a judged, sentenced, for instance, and has to serve for years in a prison custody. After all of that, then the person comes out, okay? For instance, the thing I'm talking about has not yet been well, that's what I atoned for. I don't want to use anything that is that kind that has not helped matters. That thing I'm talking about is like a debt. Question, is it a debt the person cannot pay? No. Before you start saying, I owe the debt, I cannot pay. You see? Is it a debt the person cannot pay? No. By the way, who is the person owing this debt? Is the person owing the child? The child that has gone to where goes go to. Oh, that one is a different thing entirely. Who is the person owing the debt? I will tell you. Is the person owing that debt to God Almighty? Not exactly. So who is the person owing the debt? The person is owing the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect. What kind of law is that? It is amongst the laws that is under what I will call now, as you understand, what is referred to as cosmic laws. Cosmic laws. What do you mean prophet, when you say cosmic laws, every planet that is hanging on air, that has a kind of livelihood, that is a habitable planet. That means there are people that are supposed to be inside that planet. That planet has what is called her system. Her system of existence. That's what you can refer to as cosmos. Cosmos. C-O-S-M-O-S. Some spell it as C-O-S-M-A-S. Cosmos. I prefer cosmos. I prefer C-O-S-M-O-S. Because there are people that bear the name Cosmos. I'm telling you, people bear names like that. Cosmos, like C-O-S-M-A-S. But that time is coming when you just have reasons to look at the name that they call you again. To be sure, you're actually bearing the right, because people bear names like Bush. Nobody should bear the name Bush. Nobody is supposed to bear names like Bush. And some other names. That I'm not just talking about the thing being meaningless, but the thing being negative. Like, why will a human being bear the name Bush? No, look at it, like with your senses. With your senses, I mean with your thinking faculty being sound. I mean, wearing your thinking cap. Okay, look at it. Why will you call your child Bush? Like Bush, come. You would have called the child Bingo. You would have called the child Bingo, come. Will you want to enter? If you want, if there is, when you say the road, and there is bush, you don't leave the road and enter into the bush. It doesn't mean bush is not. That's somebody can enter into the bush because he wants to clear the bush. That's different from what I'm talking about. But in terms of, like when you are giving narratives, analogy, a definite explanation, a definite like analogy. When you say that thing, whatever that thing will suggest should fall in line with what you are talking, what you want, what you mean. When you say bush, what do you think you're talking about that will make you call a child Bush or answer Bush as your name or even surname? So my point is this, that this depth I'm talking about is old who? Question mark. The law of cause and effect. And this law is the kind called cosmic law, which I've explained to you. Every planet that has its own system of existence supposed to have its or her cosmic laws. Let me give an example of another. Another example is what is called the law of gravity. The law of gravity is also a cosmic law. It means if you enter into this earth now, there is gravity. You see, but if you should go into the moon is a planet. It is not a habitable planet. It doesn't mean, I know with their, those that has been able to fly a rocket into the moon. I mean, that has been able to, as was written. I mean, as was explained to us that are staying here, that people have been able to enter the moon and so on, right? So my point is this: they said that inside the moon is not that the moon inside the moon, like the moon has not gravity as it is here. You see, in other words, that there are things you carry. Amongst what you carry to go into the moon is oxygen. Is simply meaning that then the moon is not where you should plan to go and live like you live in the earth here. Because oxygen is supposed to be, I mean, if you're wearing mortal body, it's supposed to be like one of the, when you say most rampant gas, as in terms of the air. So the air is a mixture of gases. Then there are the most rampant gases. If you type it, you see that you have names like hydrogen, oxygen, you see. So there are the ones that are supposed to, especially not up, down, because of your height, because of where human beings stay. Animals also, other animals. So why will oxygen go up and stay? You see. Then also the plants. The plants breathe in at a certain time, breathes in carbon dioxide and breathes out oxygen. You see. So that interdependency did not also of plants and human beings here and also animals did not help matters. That's why people think you should be classified as animals. But I'm telling you that you are not an animal. And the evidence that you are not is all over the place. Look at the things you've been able to build. Look at the things you've been able to invent. Look at it. No animal has been able to do so. They are yet to even discover how to bet themselves using the soap that they manufactured by themselves. Tell me any animal any animal that they have been able to manufacture soap that they are using, and they have their bet and so on. You can only find some things like that while watching cartoons. You see? So you are not an animal. Don't ever accept such, and be able to be wise enough, like to know what to reject. The same way people at times enter the road and they are protesting and say, no, this is not right, and so on. I supposed to know my how do I put it? Rights. I know my rights. That is the same way. You are supposed to know that you are not an animal. You are not an animal. That very curriculum that was endorsed, all of that has to do with human beings being related to, like you're relating to an animal. All of it is supposed to be struck out from the Western education curriculum. The same way the Bible told you about one man and one woman, as in man and woman. Look at what they are trying to also teach your children today concerning what? Concerning marriage. That is union between man and woman. Now they are putting man and man. Now they are putting woman and woman. They are even putting man and animal. Woman and animal. Maybe if I'm correct. And they have names for them. You should be able to know what is being invented by impure hominid angel turned humans that come here because they are disguised. They look exactly like the way you look, and they are carrying out somebody's agenda. There is this Lucifer of Isaiah 14:12-14. He is not a demon. He is a cherub. Demons are different. But he's an impure hominid angel turned human. He's an impure hominid cherub. Any is that person whose spirit being was shut out from the abyss, ABYSS, abyss of Revelation 9. So there are impure hominid angels. There are impure hominid cherubim. There are impure hominid seraphim. There are also impure hominid human beings. The matter, the detail of it, I've also explained it at a certain point. I mean, to some reasonable extent. I don't have to go into that now. And none of it took God unawares. This is a certain kind of moment to the God of creation. That is what he wants. He's defining once and for all. So the Logos is a 10 dispensation plan. You should understand that. What was written in the book of Job, many people didn't understand that. We actually have the time of our recuperation. There's such as the time of recuperation when it comes to the church. There's the time of sorrows. That thing written in the story of Job, and like a lot happened. There was a reason. That allegory. It was an allegory. That was the person that is the Job of the mankind race. There is that person that was referred to, and so on. So I know the truth, and I came to explain to you these things, and to make you know what running the race means, what it means for you to run your race, what it means salvation. The main reason salvation was referred to as the good news. The good news. What the good news is. The very reason it was called the good news. A news brought to somebody who wears mortal body that dies gradually, or that ages and dies. The reason it was called the good news. If you patiently listen, like somebody who truly loves this God Almighty we are talking about, genetically, like a pure hominid, is like it's supposed to be for every pure hominid. Believe you me, you get to the point where you'll be so grateful, so grateful to God. And I want you to also know that there are things that are so precious, so precious, but at the same time, they are not what you just stumble into, just like that. There are things that are so precious, and then you earn them. You earn them. There are things that also are that way, and so on. So, like I said, this debt that I was talking about, that kind of like an offense, like I gave you an example. So, like someone hitting another, and that person is the person's brother or sister or whoever, even neighbor. And the person didn't mean, maybe the person was beaten, like, in fact, what fits that is the person's junior, like in correcting the person. That means the person actually meant well. But then, hit the person on a particular side, and then that meant death to the physical body of the person. I'm telling you, the person has committed a crime, and I think is the kind they call manslaughter, okay? And we will face the tribunal. But apart from all of that, I am now telling you that that particular offense, that thing, is not just oh, okay, he has served and so on. No. It is alo. You see what I mean? Now, alo in Igbo language simply means abomination. You see? Alo in Igbo language simply means what? Abomination. It means that thing is a sacrilege. Not just that somebody died, like to many people, death, like it's natural. Everybody will die and so on. That is the way they have always put it. Now, the point is this, that the person in correcting that child, in correcting that person, killed the person, like they say out there. That he hit the person until the person lay down motionless. And rushing the person to the hospital, it has become something that has to do with a body that is completely dead. Now, that's an abomination. It means it is to be looked at, not just based on the surface. You see? Why the person, even in doing that thing, it caused that. If tracing the person's lineage backward, to know even if somebody has done that even before. Are you seeing that? The person's father, the person's grandfather, the person's great-grandfather. If there was even something that of such that has happened before. Then another is that if what that Ikpu, you see, that means something that should be done. If it was not done, that kind of thing will begin to happen once in a while, again and again. That is the consequence of that kind of thing that I'm talking about, if it was not done. So how do you do what? Well, like I said, that debt is owed who? Prophet said it's the law of cause and effect, and that this law is the kind that called or under the phrase cosmic law, under the subject cosmic law. And if you cannot offset this debt, how do you pay or go about it? And if you can, please, if you can offset this debt, how then do you pay or go about it? It depends on the gravity of it, and so on. But before I will come back now to tell you, that's to highlight on this, because before somebody is saying, please, that's the Old Testament stuff. Jesus has done it all. So I want to go to Leviticus 20 to give you the correct rendition of the verses. What is there? And some of the things I will like I'm bringing out will help you for us to now come back again and round this up. So, Leviticus chapter 20, verse 1. I said that, verse 1, I have given you the correct rendition from verse 1, which they wrote this way. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Prophet said that the correct rendition is, and the Lord God spoke unto Moses, saying. Verse 2, they wrote it this way. Again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. Prophet said that the correct rendering is beside that God, the most merciful, the most compassionate God, the God that is a person, the God that is not a force, the God that is not a beast, the God that is a person, the God that has conscience. We never say to somebody, stone him until the person dies. Like there's a lot of things like that here. Kill him. Set him on fire. As in, even in the killing, you can see wicked way of killing the person. God does not do that. So, the correct rendition of Leviticus chapter 20 verse 2. Again I say unto you, thou shalt say unto the children of the kingdom, Israelites that sojourn to this land, never shall any donate his semen or become a sperm donor for artificial insemination or surrogacy, either in a bid to procreate or otherwise, as divinity will not recognize, regard, nor have respect for that pregnancy. This means that the pure hominy spirit that is supposed to be sent into that baby body at the right time will not be sent, which means the abyss will do so instead. Then verse 2, they wrote it this way. Verse 3, please, verse 3. And I will set my face against that man, and will cut him off from among his people, because he had given of his seed unto Molech, to defile my sanctuary, and to profane my holy name. The correct rendition. And I will ostracize that person from being among persons who can receive children from me. For it is highly disrespectful and profane for one to believe that children comes from me, the Most High, and still do those things regardless. And my name as the giver of children can no one defile. Verse 4, they wrote it this way. And if the people of the land do anyways hide their eyes from the man when he giveth of his seed unto Molech, and kill him not. The correct rendition. And the generations that will endorse these carnal acts as appropriate are profane, and are bound to have generation of tares. Verse 5, they wrote it this way. Then I will set my face against that man and against his family, and will cut him off, and all that go a whoring after him, to commit whoredom with Molech from among their people. The correct rendition. Then will I shut my supply from those persons or family who goes a whoring with such profanity or signs of their baby breeding. Verse 6, they wrote it this way. And the soul that turn after such as have familiar spirits, and after wizards, to go a whoring after them, I will even set my face against that soul, and will cut him off from among his people. The correct rendition. And all those profane individuals that are seemingly in dire need of biological children, and as a result of that become blindly desperate in looking for solutions, and then become patriots and patronizers of these ungodly scientists, those that do these things, plus their associates, consulting with these wizard doctors, witch doctors, with their familiar spirits, will never get children from me. Verse 7, they wrote it this way. Sanctify yourselves, therefore, and be ye holy, for I am the Lord your God. Correct rendition. Have sacred mentality, therefore, and sanctify yourselves often through meditating in these holy revelations from God. Verse 8, they wrote it this way. And ye shall keep my statutes and do them. I am the Lord which sanctify you. Correct rendition. For that is the only way you can keep my statutes or do them. I am the Lord. I am the God whose revelations sanctify, and not just some piece of information. Verse 9, they wrote it this way. For everyone that curseth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. He had cursed his father or his mother. His blood shall be upon him. Correct rendition. Know your root and hallow it. For everyone that curses his father or mother is cursing his biological root. Verse 10, they wrote it this way. And the man that committed adultery with another man's wife, even he that committed adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. Incorrect. You can see where the people quoted that had stones to stone a certain person to death, that ran to the very feet of Jesus of Nazareth, his prominence. So you can see what they were quoting. Jesus' promise is the very God in an incarnate manifestation. He would have told them, so what are you waiting for? Is that not what God said to the very Moses? But that was the way he sounded. And he said what? Say, he that is without that sin, let him be the first to cast the stone, or that is guiltless of such. Amazingly, that people started living one after another. What a world, what a system. What a system. That they actually have done that, or may have been swimming in that. But because they were not caught, it was fine. Then when somebody, even though the very person, even prophet still explained what the person actually, that the person was not actually caught in that act. The person was only just like you see somebody who left a particular place. You feel that's the right church, and enter into another or go to another. You call the person religious prostitute. Is actually what the person did to them. The very Mary Magdalene, she who could believe that person was actually going to a certain person that by the name John the Baptist, who started sounding a certain way and will never come to the very synagogue, but rather was sounding a certain way, and many will go to him to be masked. He will immerse them into what and bring them out. And so on. And they didn't, Moses didn't teach them that one. You see? But look at how they wrote it in your Bible. It was as though the very John the Baptist was already accepted by them. That they were now, the point is that are you the very prophet are you the Messiah? That was what they were asking me. Are you the Messiah? Meanwhile, If he was accepted by them, what if he was a situation whereby like he was fine, what he was doing, like they have accepted him, he would have been going to the synagogue. He was like 30 something years at the time, or 30 at the time Jesus came as well, because it was months after his birth, or it was months after his conception, that the archangel Gabriel came to Virgin Mary to pre-announce that of Jesus' preeminence. So my point is this: why has that synagogue? That's what they do at least once every year. Once every year, everybody will come there to do that particular one. They have never seen John the Baptist do that. Automatically, you can see that very person is completely not saying yes to their system. I don't have to talk about the fact that his biological father lost his life. He was the very last high priest at a certain point, which means before that story of, like baby Jesus having to be carried to Egypt. What about the very John the Baptist? He was his own chapter was not captured. Meanwhile, he was also one of what they refer to as prime suspects in terms of that person that that baby they were looking for. During the killing of babies. And the story of the 3 wise men. You know what I'm talking about. You see. So please let me continue. Leviticus 20 verse 10, they wrote it. And the man that committed adultery with another man's wife, even he that committed adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. Correct rendition. And the man that lay with another man's wife, the man that has intercourse with his neighbor's wife, committed adultery and should ask for forgiveness. Leviticus 20:11. And the man that lied, this is the way they wrote that. And the man that lied with his father's wife had uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. Please, I just saw now that there's what I didn't include in this verse 10, which is the person should confess to the angel of his church age for commensurate penance, and then ask for forgiveness. That means ask the God for forgiveness. So it does not look like I'm trivializing that. As other ones I will talk about, you still see me wrote it. The point is that just like last Sunday, will bear me witness. I still said it. That's what, when you have done that, you have to confess to the angel of your church. You must confess that to the angel of your church. That is to discourage also that act. So you don't just begin to swim in it, feeling, when you do it 100 times, you ask God to forgive you 100 times. And not to talk of today that there's even a blood that is standby, like they taught you, that can clean, like wash you clean, and you become whiter than snow, and so on. So, that line, that very line, the person committed adultery and must confess it to the angel of his church age for commensurate penance and for forgiveness. That's what you just add there. Verse 11. Like I said, Leviticus 20:11. And the man that lied with his father's wife, both uncovered his father's nakedness, both of them shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. The correct rendition. And the man that has sexual intercourse with his own biological father's married wife or concubine, his stepmom, whether his dad is alive in the earth or not, he has transgressed against a certain biological/marital law. He must confess it to the angel of his church age for commensurate penance. Leviticus 20:12. They wrote it this way. And if a man lie with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall surely be put to death. they have wrought confusion. Their blood shall be upon them. That is not what God said. The correct rendition. And if a man, a dad should have sexual intercourse with his son's wife, daughter-in-law, without her consent, the man has committed a crime and should face the tribunal, while if it is with the consent of the daughter-in-law, then both of them have transgressed against a certain biological/matrimonial law and should go for confessions and penance. Verse 13, you can see this is where this is from here that I said I have not given to you. Even though I think that I touched this very verse 13 on Sunday. So I will start from here now, from today. So this one now is where I'm starting to the last verse. So verse 13, they wrote it this way. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lied with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. The correct rendition. If a man also lay with fellow man, as man lieth with woman. I love this coinage. That if a man also lie with mankind. Mankind is a generic name. And that's what Adam means. That's what Adam means. So I want you to also have reverence for that name, Adam. That very name, Adam. That is mankind. It is pointing to the species, the race of the very entire people belonging to that race. And somebody who is the principal ancestor of that race is the person that can represent that very whole people. That's why he is the prototype image. He is the prototype in image description. The correct rendition. If a man also lay with fellow man, as man lieth with woman, both of them has committed an abomination, for it is an unnatural instinct or chemistry on display, and so on, ... and should not be tolerated at all. Therefore shall both of them be excommunicated from the church. You see that? Should be excommunicated from the church. Now, prophet explained this before, that there's what is called chemistry. Just like there's biology, chemistry, and physics in every planet. So there is the inclinations that are unnatural. Now, why you use the word unnatural, what does it mean? When you say natural, what do you mean? When you say nature, what do you mean? When something is unnatural, that is true that there's something it is doing to that system. That's the cosmos. That's what he's doing to the cosmos. That was the kind of a thing that happened to the point where the God of creation then said the very planet needs to be cleansed. That was what happened during the time of Noah. That's the kind of a thing. Impure hominid angel turned humans. We are getting 100% human beings that are women, ladies here, pregnant. So they were giving birth to Anakim, the people that are no longer, it's like polluting the genetic code, DNA/RNA genetic code of man here. You can see. So understanding this will help you to understand how that that is what can get God's attention. You know? Else you will say, okay, what about a lot that is happening today? What about a lot that is happening today? What about that? Somebody will say, because Jesus Christ has come and died, so his blood. There are many people that are not Christians. Many people that are in the air today that are not Christians. Don't forget. It means whatever Jesus promised, whatever they are pointing to as what would have helped, like that would have washed yours, has not washed theirs. Because they are not, at least, as they still explained it, is that you must accept Jesus' remnants and accept that those things he did it for you, before that thing to work for you. For instance. So my point is this. That the correct rendering is, if a man also lay with fellow man, as man laid with woman, both of them has committed an abomination, for it is an unnatural instinct or chemistry on display. Unnatural instinct. Another word for it is inclination. Unnatural inclination. And should not be tolerated at all. Therefore shall both of them be excommunicated from the church. Not killed. Excommunicated from the church. It means God was talking to a people, not exactly everybody. A people that are pure hominids. They are supposed to belong to that church. The church is also like talking about that people that are pure hominids, that he also predestined to have been planted, to have been planted in a church. You cannot talk about the dispensations without talking about the church ages. There are the church ages. This is the seventh age of the church. There is the seventh angel of this church. And every child of the kingdom in the earth today belong to the very age of, belong to this very church age. Whether you are coming already or not, whether you are listening to prophet already or not, you are predestined to by the God of creation. If you didn't, that concerns you. It is not God to be blamed. If you are distracted or some things got your attention so badly that whatever this man has been preaching, that is not, in fact, you are too far from even, like, from being, you know, like from being, like from that catching you. Maybe if I use the word catching, like when somebody casts his net, you know, there's the network of the God of your divine destiny. There's the network. There's the predestination that God already has done. That is the reason you, no matter the country you are, somehow you are supposed to. You are supposed to, you know, not be beyond the catchment area of this man of God through these revelations that are coming out. That's what I mean. And that catchment, I mean, I don't think, you know, like a net can catch a fish for a kill, or catch a fish by force and so on. It has nothing to do with that. I'm just trying to explain. That's why I paused there a little. There are just some words that I'm not so satisfied with when I use them. Okay? So I really want you to understand this God Almighty. I really, really want you to understand a whole lot for yourself. Because that is the way you will be your best. You come to your best, and you do your best. You worship with a pure heart, like you know the God that you're worshiping, and so on. So, like I said, Leviticus 20 verse 14, they wrote it this way: and if a man take a wife and her mother, it is wickedness. They shall be burnt with fire, both he and they, that there be no wickedness among you. If you are asking where I was referring to when I said burn, like when I say kill, do this, and also burn these people, you can see they wrote here that God said. Moses said that God said, according to how that they said that Moses authored the first 5 books: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and Numbers. So Leviticus 20:14 said, as they wrote, if a man take a wife and her mother, simply means if a man take a child and the biological mother of the child as a wife, that means take the daughter as a wife and then also the mother of the child. Also the mother of the child. It is wickedness. That was it was referred to here. It's wickedness. They shall be burnt with fire. Both he, the man, and they, the mother and the child. Then they wrote that there be no wickedness among you. That is not what God said. The correct rendition. And if a man takes a wife and her wife's biological mother, it is weird, comma, it is insane, comma, it is absurd, comma, it is terrible, comma, both the child and her biological mother shall be taken away from that dog-like human, and the woman and her daughter repatriated, comma, rehabilitated, and therapeutically reinstated, comma, both the man, for that is incest, for that is incest, for that is incest, for that is incest, incest, and after all this should never be allowed to see each other anymore. And after all this, should never be allowed to see each other anymore. That was what God said. It means, you see, like I said, that God was talking to a people, not a world. You see, a people. It means in the very planet, God knows there are impure hominids in the very planet. They are mixed. So he was talking to a people, not all everybody. You can see, look at that. The Lord said that God said, as they wrote, burn them, set them ablaze, alive. Cremation is when you are where dead bodies are set ablaze. This one is not dead bodies now. It means while they are breathing, where they are alive, they should be burnt. Oh. That's what is in your Bible. That God, the God that spoke to Moses, said. Yet among the attributes you give to this God is that he is unchangeable. He can never change. He can never change. He can never change. Jesus, the same forever. El Shaddai, Elohim, and Adonai. Age to age, you're still the same. Look at that. Age to age, you're still the same. So is the God of Moses the same God of the prophets? Is the God of the Old Testament, as they refer to him, refer to that place, the same God of the New? That means he's supposed to retain the same character. The same character. If you understand what character means, if you understand when you talk about character, if you understand what character means, you will know that it's a very serious thing. It is superior to behavior. It is superior to behavior. Behavior can be molded. Behavior can be molded by a place, by a community. People that, for instance, that grew up, let's say in those places they call ghetto. You see, there's a way they behave. You see, behave because of what they saw, the level of their exposure, please, and so on. It can mold somebody, and so on. That's behavior. Behavior that's different from character. Character, you can trace it to genetics. You can trace character to genetics. I read it one more time. Leviticus chapter 20 verse 14. If a man take a wife, that's the way they wrote it, and her mother, it is wickedness, they shall be burnt with fire, both he and they, that there be no wickedness among you. Correct rendition. And if a man takes a wife and her wife's biological mother, it is weird, it is insane, it is absurd, it is terrible. Both the child and her biological mother shall be taken away from that dog-like human, and the woman and her daughter repatriated, rehabilitated, and therapeutically reinstated. Both the man, that is, it means the man also, they will do the same thing, but not the same place. Okay? So both the man, for that is incest, and after all this, should never be allowed to see each other anymore. Leviticus 20:15, verse 15 now. And if a man lie with a beast, he shall surely be put to death, and ye shall slay the beast. Correct rendition. And if a man should lay with an animal, he must confess it to the angel of his church age and be given commensurate penance. You can see. Now, there are even people that in their dream, they are sleeping, in their dream, they will be having intercourse with a certain animal. Yes, there are people that has had that experience. That they will know, in some cases, the thing may come from the back. And they turn like this, and no, it's an animal, but they can't do it like it was a dream, Well, in some and so on. What about that? How will you go and get the animal that came to visit the person in the dream? Then aside that too, there are people that has had that kind of experience. They did that to an animal when they were far, at their boyhood age. In some cases, they are. When I mean boy, that is when they were when I mean boys here. Like 5 years, 6 years, 7 years in the earth. There is that age that when a child is in that age, be that child male or female, at times there are things that comes to the child's mind that can be very, very, that's out of curiosity. Those things can be like, what if the child should say it? Or if they should reveal that to you, for you to see what is going in a child's mind, you'll be like, what? There are things that contribute to those things. The mortal body is something you should understand very well first. The shortcomings of that nature. Then the excesses. That's another. Excesses of that same nature. Not just physical body. Mortal nature. The mortality of that body. So my point is this. There are people that has done that. There are people that has confessed to me. There are people that has confessed to me. And they said to me, sir, it was many years ago when I was so age. There was this chicken, hen, that that people cook, hen. That's what a boy who was trying to do that with. Look at that. Look at that. I don't have to continue. So would I have said to the person, no, go and look for that chicken. The chicken must be killed. And you. Or maybe, no. Jesus Christ has experienced, his blood has washed you. It does not matter anymore. How can you really explain these things? How can you really explain these things? So my point is this, that the correct rendering of that, this very verse 16, Leviticus 20 verse 16. And if a woman approach unto any beast, okay, please, verse 15. And if a man lie with a beast, he shall surely be put to death, and ye shall slay the beast. The correct rendering is, and if a man should lay with an animal, he must confess it to the angel of his church age, and be given commensurate penance. Verse 16, they wrote it, and if a woman approach unto any beast, and lie down thereto, thou shalt kill the woman and the beast. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. Hi. God will never say this. God will never tell you to kill somebody and that the blood of that person will be on the person. How do you even kill people? Is it so easy to kill? Like there was nothing like conscience that is needed. You just do kill the person. Without it, I said, look at it yourself and kill the animal. God has never done that before. God has never taught that before. God has never instructed that before. And later at a certain point, then change. The correct rendering of Leviticus 20:16, which they wrote this way. And if a woman approach unto any beast and lie down thereto, thou shalt kill the woman and the beast. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. The correct rendition is, and if a woman rear animals or has animals or animal that she practices whoredom with, or has ever ventured into such an act within the an act, okay, in the past, please. And if a woman rear animals or has animals or animal that she practices whoredom with, or has ever ventured into such an act in the past, she must confess that to the angel of her church age, or to the angel of her church, for commensurate penance. It means the rest should be left for that very man, that angel of the person's church age, to now take it from there. The reason for that commensurate penance means the person must have been trained as well to know the gravity of that offense and know how to apportion, you see, the penance that is necessary. Amongst it is also that it's not just to say this is like a type of punishment to you, but to also do a work that involves with praying, counseling, and so on. You see? So, verse 17, Leviticus 20:17. And if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness, it is a wicked thing, and they shall be cut off in the sight of their people. He had uncovered his sister's nakedness. He shall bear his iniquity. You can see, look at this. Now, this was just sounding like it is not the act now, but just seeing the person's nakedness. So, in other words, if a biological brother sees the nakedness of his biological sister, let me read it again. And if a man shall take his sister, they didn't put biological here, but that's what it means. If a man shall take his sister, then in explaining it, his father's daughter. Did you see? Or his mother's daughter. It is because in some cases there are polygamous. There are families that are polygamous. There are cases whereby somebody can say, "Oh, we are the same father, but not the same mother." You see, that's why it sounded this way. So, and if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and see her nakedness, don't forget that if he was that, no, you should understand now. It means if they do what man and woman do together. The ones I read before didn't sound this way. It didn't say and see with each other's nakedness. That one said and lay with. But this one said and see. And you see, and if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother, or his mother's daughter, please, and see her nakedness, and she sees his nakedness, it is a wicked thing. And they shall be cut off in the sight of their people. He had uncovered his sister's nakedness. He shall bear his iniquity. There are even medical doctors or midwives that when it comes to that thing they do, they will begin with their family. In terms of like, if you're like, you are a medical doctor or the kind that is an expert when it comes to women's body, then you have a sister, and that sister needs your expatriate, that is your service. Tell me that, and then you are following this, like you had at that time, then the sister of yours, biological sister of yours, is pregnant to put to bed, and then you happen to be the kind of can render a service at that time, and you know this, that this is what God said. Tell me what you will do. If you will go on to render that help or not. Secondly, imagine if your sister wants to have her bath, and is that kind of a place where when I was actually growing up, in fact, if rain is falling, we can come out and under the rain, and we're so happy that the rain is beating us directly. You see, we can put water in a bucket and carry the thing outside. To go into, when you say bathroom, we don't prefer that. Many years ago. You will be so happy to carry that bucket out, and maybe there's a sister, if you are, let's say 3 of you or 4, that are brothers and sisters, biological brothers and sisters. You are happy bathing together. What about that? Won't you be naked to bath? Look at that. Let me read it again so you understand. They wrote, and if a man, you may say, that's when you're little now, boy. There are some that they still count, that still sound this way. If a man, and believe me, also if a boy should do that, the boy is also guilty. Because being a boy, there is an age that you get to. That boy can do what a man can do. And if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness, it is a wicked thing, and they shall be cut off in the sight of their people. He had uncovered his sister's nakedness, he shall bear his iniquity. That is not correct. The correct rendition. And if a brother shall take his own biological sister, or his mother's daughter, or even extended family sisters, and lay with any, you see, not uncover, and lay with any, this particular one has the exact time it took effect from, as that was not so from the time of Lord Adam, but took effect from the 4th generation, that is 400 years from the time Lord Adam had his first biological children. And this returned again during the time of Noah, until the 4th generation, that is counting from the time Noah's children had their first biological children after the flood. Therefore, the violation of this means an abominable act, and the offender must confess to the angel of his or her church age for commensurate penance. Let me read it one more time. And if a brother shall take his own biological sister or his mother's daughter, look at this. What prophet meant here is that, for instance, Seth married the twin sister, or the twin sister of Abel. That twin sister of Abel is his sister. What about that? Cain married his own twin sister, even though it was not written outright this way. Then not just about Seth. The person Seth gave birth, this person said, as he continued until the 4th generation. It means that, like, how possible can a biological brother actually marry his biological sister? Let me leak one secret to you. Actually, as in the way it's supposed to be, it's not actually about just let us be husband and wife. It's supposed to be that the very biological brother and the biological sister, that thing that you know that's supposed to be in between two people, which is they refer to as chemistry, that thing that has to be there first. That means what will make the very biological brother, what will make his body move, it's not supposed to be there. The same way you have a biological mother. What will make you as male, what will make your body move, it's not supposed to be there. If you are lying down on the same bed with your biological mother, tell me I'm not talking sense. That is how it's supposed to be. That is that same thing that is in between brother and brother. That thing that is supposed to be in between brother and brother, male and male. That is, you cannot develop. Oh God, do I use the word lost? There's not supposed to be there's anything like that in between a biological brother and his biological sister. That is also one of the reasons God, there's a whole lot that God has already, like he knew already and take care of, or took care of. It's just like, for instance, a woman that put to bed, and then the woman gave birth to a male child. And then the male child, the woman has to breastfeed the male child. Now the woman, the mother, is not supposed to be breastfeeding that male child, and the woman is feeling the way the woman will feel if it's her husband that is doing one thing or the other on her breast. If I will sound this way, can it happen? The woman's baby, being the woman is breastfeeding, it's not supposed to do that to the woman. That is exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. The same way the woman taking care of that baby boy, as the baby boy is also growing, all those time to the point where the baby has grown to some point, the mother might still be birthing the child. And when the mom is birthing the child, the mom can birth even what boys used to urinate, can touch it and do one thing or the other. It's not supposed to affect the boy that way. That is what I mean. What will you call that thing? That thing is supposed to be there. That is what I mean. So you don't just say biological brother, marry biological sister. So why I touch this is for you to see that for Seth to be able to marry his own biological sister, the same father, the same mother, just that sister is a twin sister to the one that came before him. That he married the person does not mean is normal. So for him to be able to marry the person, there was how it is. Or that was how it was then. That is now different now. That is my point. So that way it was. It continued till a particular time and changed. So the time it continued, that thing continued until a point, is 400 years. That's how you know when prophet said that a generation is supposed to be 100 years. Why some people are saying it's 40 years. Some are saying, imagine that. Okay, let me ask you. If a generation should be less than 100 years, and the Bible said that Enoch is the 7th from Adam, His Eminence, 7th from Adam. Look at that. Then if Enoch is 7th from, even though they wrote that Noah is the 8th, they didn't write it correctly. Those of you that are asking me, check if Noah is the 8th from Lord Adam. I said is the 10th from Lord Adam. You can count it. This is not about what, that you have to look for in some book out there. Just your Bible, you count like Lord Adam gave birth to. Then that person gave birth to. And then that person gave, just count it. And see if Noah is the 8th. But your Bible said is the 8th. I told you no, they didn't write it correctly. That is to show you that I am in the position to correct what was written there. Else, how many people have you seen that did that? So my point is that Noah is the tenth. And not just is the tenth. I understood why it has to be the tenth. There are numbers. I know why it has to be the tenth. The story of Noah, the coupling of the ark, and also even where the ark rested, there's not any that is by accident. There are what they mean. Just like when you read in your Bible that Jesus promised, amongst what he said was, as it happened during the days of Noah, so also will it happen again. Do you know during the days of Noah, there was also a time it gets to. You don't just marry and start giving birth to children. That there was a reason. The children of Noah and their wives, none of them had a baby until after the flood. As they were supposed to be eight. That number 8, that was the reason they have to be 8. And that is that third floor. That's the story 3. That was the reason they had to be 8. The 8 served for a purpose. Because the 8th dispensation, they adumbrated what will happen. That is what happened at the 7th dispensation into the 8th dispensation. So at the 8th dispensation, that is when the termination of this solar system, the spectacular time, I call this spectacular because it will be such a scene. You see? And also that thing that has to do with, if you're physical, but like you must be in what not just about now practicing righteousness. It's about what you are inside that will protect you, that will shield you from something that is happening or something that will happen. So at that time, it was the ark. That ark is also meaning something. You see, so that you're a child of the kingdom will not be enough when that time comes. Just like prophet has spoken about what? About how that the mortal body you have is mortal. And that there is the revelations that you must eat for you to have the physical body that can be referred to as the wedding garment. That wedding garment is pointing to a physical body that is the right one for the wedding, for the unism of your spirit being and the physical body. So that the immortality in the spirit being will come to the physical body. Name it. All of garment of praise. That's the reason. The story of the wedding at Cana in Galilee, or Cana of Galilee. The reason for that wedding, that's one that was referred to, and the story of like a parable that has to do with the man with the wedding garment. I mean, the man that is the man without the wedding garment was supposed to be one person, right? That means every other person there had their wedding garment. But meanwhile, if you're after wedding, the people that will be with wedding garment are supposed to be just the man wedding and the wife. But if you look at that very well, you see that it was trying to say that everybody in that hall, everybody, supposed to wear something, not just the man wedding and the wife. That's why someone that was not wearing a wedding garment was cited in the first place and was asked to go out. That means, if you look at that, you may say, oh, but you said that I'm supposed to see someone that has no cloth and buy cloth and give to the person. Don't forget, if I was hungry, you didn't feed me. I was naked, you did not give me cloth. So why will you now cite someone that has no wedding garment and you send the person out and even say that is where there is gnashing of teeth? So why not buy garment and give to the person? Or at least let the person stay by the corner. So the parable has something that you need to understand. It is pointing to the physical body that is always held. And what will happen to that anybody that has not gained the launch, that is supposed to start from Gilgal into Bethel into Jericho, Bethel into Jericho, and then Jericho into Jordan and across. That transcends of metamorphosis is something you should understand. I am telling you the truth, my dear. The truth of the salvation story, what salvation is missing in the Bible that you have now. I am telling you the truth. I am telling you the truth. Jesus promised, said, those that keep my sayings shall not taste of death. That is a testament of his own. That is a testimony of a testator. Those that keep my sayings shall not see death. Now let me tell you another. Another is another testator. That one said, it is appointed unto man wants to die, and after that, judgment. Check if they are the same. If they are the same. It is appointed unto man, means everybody wants to die, and after that, judgment. Well, another said, those that kept my sayings shall not or did not taste of death. Look at the two. That's why there is what is called the two testaments. Two testaments pointing to the report that was brought by two different people. They were not the same, but it was supposed to be the same. Somebody didn't bring the right one, That person that didn't give you the right one is the law. That is in the similitudes of the body that you have now. When you follow your brain only, you are following the law. The law is leading you. Your body is your Moses. Your body is that waterborne body. That is like all that matters to you is according to your brain. According to what your brain tells you. Meanwhile, the you that is not supposed to be following that is spirit being. You are a spirit being. You have your mind. There is a whole lot that you forgot. Very true. You are not to be blamed in that. But I'm assuring you that by the time you get to a certain point, you will have a total recall of a lot that you have forgotten. What happened where you were giving birth to spirit being with that physical body that you forgot? That's also where the God chose the people he chose. He chose that people before their biological birth. And so on. You see. So like I was reading, in Leviticus 20:17, they wrote it this way. And if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness, it is a wicked thing. And they shall be cut off in the sight of their people. He had uncovered his sister's nakedness, he shall bear his iniquity. The correct rendition. And if a brother shall take his own biological sister, or his mother's daughter, or even extended family sisters, and lay with any, this particular one has the exact time it took effect from, as that was not so from the time of Lord Adam, but took effect from the 4th generation. That is 400 years from the time Lord Adam had his first biological children. And this returned again during the time of Noah until the 4th generation. That is counting from the time Noah's children had their first biological children after their flood. Therefore, after the flood, please. After the flood. Therefore, the violation of this means an abominable act. And the offender must confess to the angel of his or her church age for commensurate penance. Leviticus 20:18. And if a man shall lie with a woman having her sickness, and shall uncover her nakedness, he had discovered her fountain. And she had uncovered the fountain of her blood. And both of them shall be cut off from among their people. Correct rendition. And if a man shall lay with a woman, I mean his wife, during her menstruation, he has done something that is likely to get him infected. Therefore, he is unclean and should consult for herbs that can cleanse him, and should abstain from doing such at that kind of time. The angel of that church age should not lay hands upon him for healing. He should bear the consequence of his iniquity. Look at this. Now, this one is what will help you to understand the side I have touched before. When I said there are certain kind of sicknesses that somebody who operates divine healing, who operates the keys of the kingdom, should not try to, like that person that mediates between you and the God in the area of your salvation, should not lay his hands on you when it comes to things like gonorrhea. You see, gonorrhea, staphylococcus, or whatever you call it. That means there is kind of sickness that you can get by practicing whoredom too. That means like you call it sexually transmitted diseases. The God that said you should not practice whoredom. He's just telling you you can stay disciplined. Okay, you can stay. That's the point. Okay, and then you can see what is written here. So what prophet is saying that this is the correct rendition here. This was just addressing man, or any man who will not care to do what man and woman do together. Maybe, let's say, he was trying to do that with his wife, and then the wife is seeing his menstruation, and he didn't mind. That's what this place is addressing. Now, look at what they called it. Fountain. He has discovered her fountain. Imagine that kind of thing. What does that mean? He has discovered her fountain. They would have put the fountain of blood. So what this place was just talking about was as simple as, just like when prophet said to you, that when God said, you shall, like when a woman is seeing her menstruation, you shall not touch her. That kind of thing. That what he meant was you don't have to have intercourse with her. The law, Moses, had it as you shall not touch her. Touch her. Don't touch her. She should not touch you. She should not. Else, anything she touches is unclean. It deprived many of such women coming to sit and that sit in the congregation during that Sabbath. They can just lie down by the corner. The woman will not use spoon that others use at that kind of a time, and so on. Tell me that this is not pointing to somebody's character. That's not pointing fingers to somebody's character. Now, meanwhile, at times, that kind of a time, like it's a Saturday, then a woman is in labor to put to bed. Then they also said at that time that God said you should not do any work. No work should you do. Then a woman is in labor. Who will attend it to the woman that is in labor, that wants to put to bed? Then you come out to go to that church, that auditorium. You need to enter into a vehicle. Which vehicle will drive you? As an example. It means they got it wrong. The aspect of walking is what I'm addressing now. That is, they got it wrong. You see, there are walks that are different from the others. There are, even while church is going on, there are people that are still doing one work or the other, even at that time. I mean, like security work. I mean, at that time. The very Israel, they know they have their soldiers, for instance. They have Israeli military, Israeli police, and so on. And they know the kind of things they suffer. Tell me that all of that will be shut down. That because that they said, because Moses said that, no, God said no work should be done, and so on. So a lot were misunderstood, please. So I will read it one more time. Leviticus 20:18. And if a man shall lie with a woman having her sickness and shall uncover her nakedness, he had discovered her fountain, and she had uncovered the fountain of her blood, and both of them shall be cut off from among their people. They call rendition. And if a man shall lay with a woman, I mean his wife, during her menstruation, he has done something that is likely to get him infected. Therefore he is unclean and should consult for herbs that can cleanse him, and should abstain from doing such at that kind of a time. At that kind of a time, not just at that kind of time. I think it's better. The angel of that church age should not lay hands upon such kind of a case, or upon him for healing. He should bear the consequence of his iniquity. That simply meaning, if he had already caught a sickness, he should let the person go through that. Not by, oh, no, don't give him herbs. No. He shouldn't I don't have to lay hands on somebody who has gotten gonorrhea. Because the person can get divine healing, for instance, and say, what? That means if he had gone to a prostitute house, where prostitutes are, people that are selling their body for money, and got that thing, and then he can just say, oh, I have somebody who is there, who just lays hand and he goes. You can see it. You can see why it shouldn't be so. Verse 19, Leviticus 20:19. And thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, nor of thy father's sister, for he uncovereth his near kin. They shall bear their iniquity. The correct rendition. And thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, nor that of thy father's sister, for that can cause or give room for arousals and become tempting. For any that lay with his or her own father's sister or mother's sister is committing an abomination, and must confess it to his or her angel of church age. Not to his angel of church. I think it's better this way. To the angel of his church age or her church age. So, note, all these matters for those that are running the race for express immortalization, as no child of the kingdom can become condemned to hell by those acts. I read it again. And thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, nor that of thy father's sister, for that can cause or give room for arousals. Oh, and become tempting. For any that lay with his or her own father's sister or mother's sister is committing an abomination and must confess to the angel of his church age. Then prophet said, note, all these matters for those that are running the race for express immortalization, as no child of the kingdom can become condemned to hell by those acts. Leviticus 20:20, they wrote it this way, and if a man shall lie with his uncle's wife, he had uncovered his uncle's nakedness, they shall bear their sin, they shall die childless. The correct rendition. And if a man shall lay with his uncle's wife, his father's brother's wife, he had committed not only adultery with the woman, but has also transgressed a certain biological/marital law. They must confess that to the angel of their church age for commensurate penance. This they must do without disclosing the deed to the uncle for his health's sake and for the safety of the woman's marriage. Leviticus 20:21. And if a man shall take his brother's wife, it is an unclean thing. He had uncovered his brother's nakedness. They shall be childless. Look at this. Let me read it again to you. And if a man shall take his brother's wife, see what followed. It is an unclean thing. How is it an unclean thing? You can see that they chose the wrong word. That's my point. It is an unclean thing. And if a man shall take his brother's wife, it is an unclean thing. He had uncovered his brother's nakedness. They shall be childless. This is incorrect. The correct rendition. And if a man shall take over his brother's wife for any reason, it can only be justifiable if the wife is a young, childless widow who willingly chose or loves to stay and bear the name of her late husband, and for posterity's sake also. Else it is wrong, because a wife is not a property that can become inherited by a next of kin, but the very brother of the deceased, as a brother indeed, can share in shouldering responsibilities or financial burdens of his deceased brother. I read it again. And if a man shall take over his brother's wife for any reason, it can only be justifiable if the wife is a young, childless widow who willingly chose or loves to stay and bear the name of her late husband, and for posterity's sake also. I mean, for also putting to bed for that person that was childless and went to where ghosts go to. You see, it can only be justifiable if the wife is a young, childless widow who willingly chose or loves to stay and bear the name of her late husband, and for posterity's sake also. Else it is wrong, because a wife is not a property. It's not a commodity. It's not a property that can become inherited by a next of kin. But the very brother of the deceased, as a brother indeed, can share in shouldering responsibilities or financial burdens of his deceased brother. You can see. Look at the story of Ruth and Naomi. That was written in the Bible. If it was written like it was wrong. When the two wives of two Israeli brothers that died, like you have always put it, in Egypt. and their dad also, leaving their mom and 2 wives. And the wife and the mom has reasons to leave the very Egypt and travel back to Israel. And was telling, and she told the very 2 wives, please, like they should not follow her. Something like, because it was obviously she cannot put to bed, and for them to have waited until the child grow, so that they should go. But then one has reasons to stay back, while another had reasons to follow the woman and say, what about the God you've taught me? You see, in other words, that is showing that place where they were staying in Egypt, the culture, the tradition, the way of life of that people, and that of that Israel, and their God, and so on, they are not the same. So that person say, no, your God is my God, your people, my people. Oh my goodness. And that was how that person followed Naomi. You see? And today, Ruth is one of the places you can open in the Bible. Like when you say the book of Matthew, whether it's Matthew that wrote that or not, or if even so, that's the same way you can refer to as in a place called the book of Ruth. And she is from Moab. From Moab, they refer to as a Moabite, if I'm correct. Which even that thing that happened there too, Prophet has explained that. He has also explained that why that happened at all. That Egypt that a people were led out of, that story is also an adumbration of something. So that when that people reach that place and say, oh, that's the promised land and so on, it doesn't mean somebody can just decide tomorrow, say, no, let me go to Egypt. Let me just go to Egypt for greener pasture now, for greener pasture. Especially that particular people that crossed that Red Sea. That people that crossed as when the sea parted and they crossed. Anybody that tried that is doing something that is a do not. It's not good for him and so on. So, I hope you heard this one. Leviticus 20:21. And if a man shall take over his brother's wife. Don't forget that somebody asked Jesus of Nazareth feminines that a brother, somebody had a wife. And then the very person died as like went to where goes go to. Then the brother of the person took over. Also went to where goes go to. Another took over until the 7th. That means there were 7 brothers. And then the one woman married one of them. Then when that person died, the other took over. You see, now in Igbo language it's called Ikuchi. Ikuchi wanye. That simply means not to remarry, like okay, I think I can now marry you. No, it's like to replace. That is to take over. I think it's better. Like to take over the woman. To take over the very woman. I mean, like it is traditional, but in some cases, like in the side of Anambra State I am from, it is not to be done against the consent of the lady or of the woman. It is not like she does not have a choice. Some can be that strict. Like they tell you, no, that is tradition. That is tradition, As you know very well that people can be from the same biological father and mother, but they can have different beliefs. They can have different characters. You see? So that's why it's not really supposed to be like, no, tradition said, if this person is my brother, or my immediate junior, or my immediate senior, therefore I will take over you. Whether you like it or not. Not at all. So my point is that I'm not here to preach to you my tradition according to the flesh, please. I'm just trying to make you see that the things I talk about are reality, okay? So what I'm trying to say here is that this very one now they wrote this way. And if a man shall take his brother's wife, you can see. And a man shall take you just looks like those other ones I spoke about. So that is just a brother taking his brother's wife. That is what was being spoken about here. Meanwhile, what is being spoken about here is taking over. If a brother should take over his brother's wife, because the brother maybe has gone to where goes go to, or because the brother, because there are other things too. Some accidents can reduce somebody to the point where the person might be there, but it's like, so there are things that can call for that kind of a thing. That's why I'm touching it. That what God said was, and if a man shall take over his brother's wife for any reason, It can only be justifiable. See, justifiable. That means there's a justice. There's a law. There's a law that ensures justification. That that everything that God has his hands on must be justifiable. That I'm pointing to here, or bringing to your awareness. And if a man shall take over his brother's wife for any reason, it can only be justifiable if the wife is a young one, childless, 2, widow, 3, who willingly chose or loves to stay and bear the name of her late husband, and for posterity's sake also. Else it is wrong. Else it is wrong. Did you see that there's nothing like unclean here that I mentioned? But they wrote unclean. Or loves to stay and bear the name of her late husband, and for posterity's sake also. Else it is wrong, because a wife is not a property, a commodity that can become inherited by a next of kin. But the very brother of the deceased, as a brother indeed, can share in shouldering responsibilities or financial burdens of his deceased brother. Leviticus chapter 20 verse 22, they wrote it this way. Ye shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments and do them, that the land whither I bring you to dwell therein spoil you not out. The correct rendering. Ye shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments and do practice them, that the land, the earth I brought you into through your biological mothers, through your biological mother's wombs, that the earth and her natural laws, her cosmic laws, amongst which is the law of cause and effect, the laws of the land you're supposed to reside in temporarily, do not abhor you or find occasion to hold you primarily down. And all these confessions must be done before the person's water baptism. For water, before the person's immersion, please, into water and out, for that to count. This is very serious. You mean baptism was mentioned? God mentioned baptism. Some people thought that maybe at that time, God may not have remembered that there's something called baptism. And all these confessions must be done before the person's water baptism. Look at that. For the person's immersion into water and out. For that to count. I'll read this one again. Leviticus 20:22, they read this way. Ye shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments and do them, that the land whither I bring you to dwell therein spill you not out. Correct rendition. Ye shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments and do practice them, that the land, the earth I brought you into through your biological mother's wombs. Just look at this coinage. And compare it to that the land I brought you into. Now that can just make you feel it is the land of Canaan, the promised land, where the very geographical location geographical location that is known today as Israel. That's what God was talking about. In other words, I brought you into simply means Moses that I spoke to, that had to lead you out of Egypt and then brought you there. Why God was talking about him, God, having to send the spirit beings of you, of these pure hominids, into this earth through the womb of their biological mothers. You see, and the entire earth is the Egypt. The very entire earth is the Egypt. You can see why I can go to Egypt, the place called Egypt today, and they will listen to me. You can see why I can go to one country or the other, and they will listen to me, because I am telling them, no, it is not just this geographical location called Egypt that God meant. That is the entire earth. But that very Egypt then was in the similitudes. God was telling a story by the history of a people. That's talking about through the history, the historic advent of a people, something like that. Like that, every pure hominids are in different sides of the earth today, and all of them are the Israel. You see, So where you are giving birth to become one of that people that are referred to as pure hominids or as a pure hominid, is in the father's bosom. Not through the blood lineage of Jacob that was given birth to by Isaac, that was given birth to by Abraham. Else, if it is so, what about the one that gave birth to Abraham? Say, no, that one was cut off. Okay, it was cut off. What about Noah? What about Noah? Didn't God commend Noah? What about the children of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth? What about them? What about what about the ones like the first angel of the church, like I told you, is Enoch? What about them? What about Methuselah? So all of those people should be thrown away. So there are the the Bible has words like the 24 elders. So who are the elders in the mankind race? They were referred as elders in heaven. 24 elders like that are in heaven. Who are the people? My dear, the mankind race has its patriarchs. The mankind race is a race. It has its patriarchs that are 12. The race of mankind is a race of 12 tribes. And the patriarchs has also those that are superior to them. There is the principal ancestor. There are the three that after the principal ancestor that gave birth to the patriarchs that are 12. The principal ancestor gave birth to the three. The three gave birth to 444, that's the 12. Then the 12 gave birth to 12, that's 144. Then he continues that way by 12. There is the sacrament of the holy orders. There is such thing as the order that you belong in the mankind. There is the order that you belong in the mankind race. The angels are different. They are not in the mankind race. The cherubim and seraphim, they are a different race. Angels are a different race entirely. Even the cherubim and seraphim, they are a race of 10 tribes. 10 tribes. Prophet has touched these things before now. Very, very important. Very, very important. These things you see are not just some story. They are not just some story, my dear. It is more important than some of those things that you pursue out there. You know your root. You know where you came from. You know where you're giving birth to. You know how you were giving birth to first. You know what you came to this earth to do. You know where you're supposed to go from here. You know the will of God. You understand the blueprint of the God of creation. You understand the bondage that is referred to, that is tied with the mortal body. You understand the freedom Jesus referred to when he said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." What you are being set free from. And also the vulnerability that came with ignorance of this truth. These revelations, if you don't know them. The ignorance that can make you become a religious prostitute. Begin to go from one church to the other. Somebody come today and tell you, God sent me to make people rich. Then you feel, you are not rich yet financially. That's where to go to. Another come tomorrow and say to you, God equipped me, or God sent me to give children to people. Except I pray, that child you've been crying to get may not come. Oh, daddy of so number or million or billion babies. Then you begin to run to that very